only a single loss for Bigatron, this can very easily be used by Coach Aldo to just really mind game their opponents, especially in the drafting phase. You can't really expect Bigatron to just stay flat. You have to expect a very dynamic, a very adaptable drafting phase from Bigatron Alpha.
That has been the problem for Bigatron Alpha, right? Very, very flat, very, very predictable, especially versus RRQ. The last match there, Naomi just mirroring every kind of movement coming in from Super Ken, especially. He has to adjust that pattern of jungling. He has to adjust the engage, the gankings to the side laners. But here we go, the drafting phase for both of these teams. A lot of reds in this arena.
A lot of reds, and in the drafting phase, you can see a lot of purple in the bans for Bigatron Alpha. Valentina and Yves, a very mid-lane centric strategy. They're trying to make sure that Sin, the new face for Aura, one of the newer players here, does not get his comfort picks, and make sure he stays in an uncomfortable position, and maybe a position that Bigatron Alpha can take advantage of in the mid lane.
A good strat. It's a very good strat to try to lock Sin down. We've seen that Sin in his one match, or the two matches that he played in MPO Indonesia, whenever he doesn't get his comfort pick, he tends to make some mistakes that ultimately give their opponents a chance to win it and come back in the game. I think Banana actually was able to outplay Sin on that Farsa, and that's why Bigatron Alpha are letting him go on the Farsa. They've only banned the Valentina and the Yves. They want Aura Fire to put this rookie on a vulnerable mid laner. And just like that, from Aura, it's still the typical bans going up against Bigatron Alpha. We've seen this formula from time to time again. You want to take out the Fanny, the Joy, maybe sometimes the Link, but in this case, Melissa for Socket out.
Interesting bans coming in from Coach Aldo. Yes, you're right, Mirko. I think this is not a matter of respecting the hero pool coming in from Sin. It's just locking his potential down. But it goes both ways also. When you have two, quote-unquote, mid laners on your team for Coach Aldo, you gotta play crazy strats, right? We've seen Fredrin in the mid lane for Superfin, especially the last game. He's been playing really good as well, those kind of tank mid laners. But you can also expect a very, very peculiar mid laners as well from Super Key too, because he has also a really, really wide hero pool. And speaking of really wide, Paquito, wide variety of uses.
Well, Paquito can be flexed around, but for Bigatron, the Kadita is available. It's been a very menacing pick, but no, they go for the Faramis instead, going for something a bit more passive. And like you mentioned, Shevin, they bring out the Fredrin. Both these heroes in the current meta can be flexed around. It's unlikely that we're going to see a Fredrin mid, but against Coach Aldo, you never know, man.
And that's the thing, the lingering impact of what they were able to achieve last week. Putting the Fredrin, flexing it, not to the XP, not to the jungle, but in the mid lane, like you mentioned. Vin was able to utilize it, and then they went for a Diggy Mage, something we've never seen before. Well, we have technically, just for the emblems, but the fact that he played it that way was very interesting. But yeah, this is something that Bigatron Alpha have kind of stayed away from. Putting Super Ken on the utility junglers. Now they're going back at it. They understand that, hey, maybe it's not the best to give Super Ken these assassins, especially up against opponents who are as good at taking objectives like Van here. And Aura Fire, surely enough, they will utilize that Paquito as a flex, and they will pick up the signature Beatrix Farsa.
Ooh, two solid backliners here for Aura. Like you said, Mirko, but maybe in this game, Assassins could be the answer against two very long-range heroes in Beatrix and Farsa. But for Bigatron, they take the Grok as well, so potential to open up the map without getting punished for it. And in the late game, you can best be sure that this Grok will be looking to try and find opportunities to make his way in the backline. If he lands a wild charge on the Beatrix, on the Farsa, that could be the end of the team fight for Aura Fire.
And it's still a flex pick, right? Fredrin and Grok as well. Hell, we can even see Joy getting picked up by Bigatron Alpha here because the Fredrin can be flexed towards that jungling area, and Fredrin in the hands of Super Ken is very, very good. Vin also plays a great Grok, especially when you have a solid backliner in Aura Fire, especially that Beatrix. If you use that Vengeance on that Joy, it's gonna spell trouble for Aura Fire. But I believe Super Sorizo is not really known for Joy as well, and he's not really a typical Joy man, I'd say, because Joy is not very good at cutting lanes, and most of the time Sorizo, he wants to cut the lane, he wants to be really, really fast to engage or to rotate into the team fights. And I don't see Joy getting picked by Bigatron just for that factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's already banned out anyways, right, in the first phase.
Oh,
by
I'm sorry.
Fire.
I missed that.
Yeah, for Bigatron Alpha, I don't think they're really concerned about that. When you see a Grok, usually it's almost confirmed that it's going to go to Cerezo for Bigatron Alpha. They ban out the Martis. Wow, they're really nailing Van down in the second phase.
They're denying all these picks that Van can use to contest, to go with a 50-50. His Retribution at this point is a bit of a worry for Bigatron. If you're not sure that you can consistently win out against it, whatever, just ban all the heroes that allows Van that playmaking potential. So for Bigatron right now, without all these mobile, card control immune assassins and fighters for the side of Aura, they can try and look for something. You know, they can try and get a pick that can just punish those tankier fighters or those immobile assassins for the side of Aura.
And I like the fact that the ones that get it banned is Martis and Lancelot, right? Those two are really good on objectives, especially if you're up against Fredrin and Grok, which can also stunts you in objective team fighting, in objective 50-50s. If you're using a hero like Basha or other utility junglers out there, it's gonna be harder for you to execute those retries. And Aldo knows that Van is one of the best retry user in MPL Indonesia, might be the best too.
Might be, I would agree. Especially considering now, with the Lancelot and the Martis ban, it's most probably going to be the Fredrin in the jungle. They'll pick up a 1-1 here, as I would actually expect, right? With the Melissa and Claude ban, you would expect the Claude first, but then those two are banned out. Against the Farsa, the 1-1 is tough to play against, but it's really the only option. They cannot go for the carry here. And then later, they can Sakan on the Harith, I would say, makes sense, but they still lack a little bit of physical damage coming in. The Fredrin's going to be utility. Anyways, for the last pick, I honestly feel like this could be a Khalid game, looking at how much backline presence Aura have.
It seems like for Aura, it's going to be Novaria and Akai, so doubling down on the long range and the crowd control, having an Akai will ensure that this dive comp from Bigatron will not be able to find Aura, but that's only if Bigatron are only approaching from one direction. If they try and flank around, it's going to be a very difficult game for Aura to try and keep their distance with only a Paquito and an Akai as a protection tool. In the fights though, like you mentioned, Mirko, this 1-1 is going to be zoned out by so much long-range spells. For Bigatron, I think they need something more in the cash department, because otherwise Aura is going to try and avoid as much as possible.
Well, you're going to go for a catch. You can also go for a peel or a healer here. Florian and Estos is still open for Bigatron Alpha, but I doubt they'll go for that route.
Franco?
And going for more of a lockdown hero.
Oh!
And they go for a sustain here. Interesting, because I would say Paquito does quite well against Uranus, but other than that, I don't think this is a good comp against a Uranus.
Against the Uranus, man, it's a lot of long-range poke, and Uranus is actually very well adapted, very well designed to deal with all this long-range poke damage. So I think it's a great pick for Bigatron and for Aura right now. If they want to make sure that they get a pick off, they must ensure that there's enough damage, that they're snowballing hard enough, or they have to ensure that there's some kind of lockdown. They might be forced to use the Akai and its heavy spin in a more aggressive manner, which means that Bigatron will have more chances to dive towards that backline. So it's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors situation.
But this is Kabuki we're talking about here, Arashi. Probably one of the best micro players in that gold lane area. Almost second to none. We're going to see here Tenacity. As you said, Arashi, a lot of potential engaged towards Kabuki without any peel whatsoever. It's going to be forced to create on its own. But we're going to go into the first match of week 3 of Bigatron versus Aura Fire.
Ooh, this matchup. 0-3 up against 3-1. Number 2 up against the 8th place team in MPL Indonesia Season 12. It's Supervin on the Grok here. Rashi, anything interesting in the emblem department?
Well, he has a focusing mark, so he's going for more of the pick-off style here, even though technically his hero is more designed to be a bit of a teamfight initiator. On top of that, you can see Super Sorizo having the Purify, having the Brave Smite. This, I think, hints at the fact that he's going to try and be a nuisance in the side lanes, and he wants more sustain and more survivability to escape from those big initiations, those big pick-off attempts from Aura Fire. If Bigatron Alpha can split apart Aura Fire, then these backline members that require the Akai and the Paquito to stay safe, they are now much more vulnerable. And if you look at the emblems, a lot of tenacity is coming from Bigatron Alpha, knowing that if they don't get fully bursted down, they can withstand and regen through the majority of the damage coming in from Aura Fire.
And another interesting to point out here is also, it looks like if you want to go for a chase, Quantum Charge is just the way to go. Van, like, it's a bit weird, you know, when we see Quantum Charge on an Akai, usually you go for other stuff, but Super Ken also with that utility jungler, Quantum Charge. A lot of Quantum Charges here.
Everything, just Quantum Charge. I think this is the most flexible emblem that you can take right now, and Bigatron Alpha are definitely utilizing it here. Though I do want to talk about this focusing mark. We've seen it time and time again. Wait, Super Ken though, able to lock Aran down for a bit, this new rookie from the MDL. But yeah, focusing mark on the Grok, Arashi.
Focusing on the Grok means that if you just go in with the wild charge on one of the members of Aura Fire, you mark him and allow your teammates to do 6% more damage to the guy. So against the jungler especially, maybe they can try and go for a strat to go on to Van.
Wow, wild charge coming down there, but it doesn't matter. Van still able to secure it with a heavy spin, and good zoning from this rookie. All the way from the MDL, Aran was able to push Super Ken back. And now, Bigatron Alpha, they have the retry advantage. They're looking for an invade. Super Ken already walking them down as Chorizo tries his best to distract up top. Super Ken with a taunt now for the airstrike coming down. Van gonna be able to knock Super Ken up, but that's the Appraiser's Wrath. Taking Van really low with the Ionic Edges. It's enough, and Super Key takes first blood for the Red Terminators.
Looks like the lack of feel here is not only evident for Kabuki, because we haven't seen that, but the lack of frontliners from Aura Fire kind of kills the objective department as well, because the only one that is going to contest, that is going to take all the damage, is Van and Van only. Even Arn is not there because he's getting chunked quite low versus Chorizo.
For Aura Fire right now, they can't really afford to just be forced into those objectives. I mean, I know they want to contest the purple buff and ensure that Van has it, but against the composition of Bigatron Alpha right here, all the fighters, all the sustain and the cold altar, you can't go in all in against this team. But look at that, that's gonna be Mirko against everyone, but keep in mind, Mirko has something extra going on.
Nah, at this point it's over, man. The Mirbless era lasted like, what, 2 weeks? It was Snapdragon, and then 1 week of MPLID, and then everything turned back again. So right now, we gotta do that. We gotta turn it around again. I don't even know how I'm top 3,
God.
but Arashi is #1.
What's the secret here, Arashi? 21, 6 more than everyone else here.
Might just be instinct, man, I have no idea, but look at that, Van goes in.
Oh, wow. Super Van is able to escape there with the power of nature somehow. Super Key with a good cold altar gets them out. Now Saken is looking for the Weeze. Ah, yep, nothing you can do out of there. Van used up the heavy spin, and it becomes just a free kill over to the Terminators. Good use of the wild charge.
Like we're saying, if you're forced to use the heavy spin aggressively, now you have no defense mechanisms for yourself. If they keep shutting down Van like this means that the next few objectives is going to be a lot easier to contest for Bigatron Alpha. So Aura Fire, they need to be a bit more careful in who they sacrifice in the situations.
Well, there's already a little bit of a skirmish there for the XP laner. Super Chorizo on his comfort pick, this Uranus that we've seen before. It takes it away from Van. I don't know if Aran actually took it away, but still, it's value. You take it away off of the jungler from the enemy team, and look, he's still there! Uranus, what a nuisance!
There's no way there's enough damage in the hands of Aura Fire to try and deny that, but look at that, Super Key forced to flicker away, but immediately, Super Ken already trying to find ways to push Van even further behind. They will be able to get this orange buff though, so when it comes to control, both teams still have it, but the longer this game goes, I feel like Bigatron Alpha, they will have more opportunities to try and make something happen, especially once these turrets, especially the tier 1 turrets, once they start falling down, there's going to be more ground to contest for both these teams.
Total take is still equal, but you see the gold lead here is actually taken by Aura Fire, 400 gold lead, even though Bigatron Alpha already has 2 kills on their favor, but Vin getting locked down.
Heavy spin, locking him down. Cole Ulster saving him and giving him so much more resources. Wild charge onto the back right now. Super Saken has a crossbow attack, but it's only on to Van. Aura Fire have a beautiful pick here under their wing. High flickering out. Super Ken with the Retribution slows him down. Shadow Stampede brings him back for Super Ken to slice High out of this land of dawn. Meanwhile, Sin and Kabuki, does seem like Super Ken is trying his best to delay these recalls, but the Terminators are just looking for the objectives now.
Looking at the macro play right here, the wave cut by Super Chorizo will allow Bigatron to most likely have a turret lead here soon after, unless Sin and Kabuki try and do something risky. Look at that snipe though. Whew.
Which snipe? The Render's Apathy?
Yep.
Yeah, the Feather Airstrike didn't connect though. Unfortunately for Sin, I don't know, Sin hasn't really been able to fully utilize this Farsa. He's been roaming, all right? He got 1 kill on the board, but it isn't the level of impact you would expect. He's been miscalculating a lot of the range here. What do you think?
I actually didn't see a lot of impact too as well, but I think that's more of a, because the composition that Aura Fire has doesn't really enable the backliner from Aura Fire himself. Because on Alpha, so far, the punish is really good. Every time Finn gets locked down, Super Ken is always there to back him up. And when he goes straight to the backline, or even just high, it's gonna spell trouble.
They're gonna go in onto Van, force it heavy spin. What? Super Ken, how? He still got it. No retry was used. What was that? Just a burn?
That's insane. What? Out of nowhere there, Aura Fire tries to force Big Alpha into the fight, but now they're the ones getting engaged on.
2-man taunt into the Stampede, bringing high back as Super Ken knocks Sin down. Up. Wow. Even with the taunt here, Appraiser's Wrath coming down. Not going to be able to take him out, though. Sin is able to flicker around, but Bigatron Alpha, they've turned the Goldie around.
Oh!
Super Vin with a wild charge right onto 2. Kabuki's still able to get out of harm's way, but Super Key is looking for Sin despite him flying out of the map. And Bigatron now have complete control, even of Aura Fire's jungle.
And the trend continues for Aura Fire, falling off in the late game, even though doing quite well on the objective to partner, even though only getting 1 turtle. They're playing against Bigatron Alpha that has a lot of punish for that objective battle. I would say 1 turtle is already fine, but in this case, if he keeps this up, this is going to be really hard to come back to.
I mean, you're saying it's late game, but it's only 8 minutes. Is Bigatron Alpha just being a lot more aggressive and making use of their full team composition? As we mentioned, with Aura Fire, yes, you have solutions in your composition only if Bigatron Alpha comes from the front. When they are trying to contest the turret in the bottom side, Aura Fire, they are forced to stay and have no control in the jungle, and that allows for that flank.
Oh, wow.
And now it's going for a dive as well.
Yeah, Iran here running away. Good escape with the sprint. Super Saiyan held down on the Inspire though, so he still has it, looking for the next fight. Bigatron Alpha have this lead, and they've taken the tier 2 down below. A lot of map pressure to play with. Good Astral Echo revealing the members of Bigatron Alpha. They're giving space to Kabuki, but not enough space as Super Ken just walks down this wave up top.
Well, it seems like that's going to be the game plan for Aura Fire, considering how much high ground potential that they have. Feathered Airstrike, you have Novaria with the spot up with the Astral Echo and Astral Sphere. They also have a lot of wave clear for that Beatrix as well. Even if the only one left is Inhibitor Turret for Aura Fire, I think I could put some faith into them that they can kind of come back from this predicament.
Well, on the base, they'll have a proper front to back every single time, but look at the situation right here. Arman getting jumped on.
Delayed while charge. Aran now trying to get out. Use it to knockout strike. Meanwhile, on the back, Fan doing some damage. Super Saiyan still holding on to the crossbow attack. The Feather Airstrike takes Super Vin low, but Super Sorizo now pops in the consecration. Whoa! What a snipe from high from downtown using the Astral Sphere. And now Bigatron Alpha, they're down 1 member. Aran can just get back to full HP.
Credit all of that to Aran after distracting a lot of resources. Might be in trouble here. There's a lot of dashes to go out there, and this is the beauty of Paquito. The uses is just a lot of variety that can be used. You have the knockup, you have the damage, you have the shield. It's just anything can be used if you're using Paquito.
And right now, with Super Sorizo in the front, look at him. He is still full HP because of regen. There's no one on the side of Aura Fire that can do enough damage. Only Kabuki, I think, and he pulls Van back in. And he will be jumped on for now, but no. Bigatron Alpha, they maintain full control over the Lord.
Astral Echo onto 4. Super Key still able to get out with the Stampede now. Super Sorizo taken very low. Nibiru's Passion as well. Heavy Spin going to be used up, but Super Vin locks him down for a bit. A Alter comes down, and Super Ken, who wins the retry battle, even getting a kill. Now the Shadow Stampede bringing Aran back just for a bit, but Super Ken stays in the front of it all, not letting anyone from Aura Fire touch his back line.
Wow, man. This Uranus pick, I think, from Bigatron Alpha is just so value. Because in that fight, there was so much damage traded back and forth, but with having a Uranus means that you can just stay there infinitely. And look at that, Super Sorizo looking to once again just push members from Aura Fire away behind.
Whoa, Appraiser's Wrath coming down. Super Ken was able to just delay that. Sin, utilizing the Feather Airstrike, knowing full well there was a Fredrin. Again, the rookie, he's getting read out like a book by the robots.
He's getting read out, but he's doing quite well. for his position. Especially, you have to create on your own in this case because the backline is not going to be enabled when you have Sarito on your face 24/7. Back and forth trade damage is not going to be able to do anything for Aura Fire because this is Uranus we're talking about. He's just going to heal up to max HP in no time, and they're just going to control all the turret available for Bigatron Alpha.
They still have empowered waves from the Lord take moving in right now, so they can still try and pressure all the turrets. And now with only one more turret left in the mid area, I think Bigatron Alpha, they can just slowly and surely go for it or set up a bit more of a dive. You see Super Vin and Super Ken just waiting for an opportunity. But I think it's going to be slowly but surely Bigatron Alpha just weathering the turret down.
Let's see. Van doing a good job. Just holding that wave down, not letting it crash into the turret with a good feather airstrike. Let's take a look at the in-game equipment here. 12-minute check.
Well, for Van, going up against so many fighters right here, he just immediately goes for the Anticuras, ensuring that those ability-based damage dealers just get their damage lowered quite a bit. On top of that, having the Athena shield, he is just geared for anti-burst, right? He doesn't want to get picked off, so he goes for all these tools right here, but in the long fight, it means that he can't really stay in the front line. Someone else needs to do that.
Wild charge on the Kabuki, but he still gets out. The Stampede, though, brings him back. Now Super Chorizo jumps on and picks up the kill. Meanwhile, Aran all the way in front. Super Saiyan gets baited in, pops into Win of Nature, but he falls to the turret. My goodness. Aura Fire able to create some chaos to get Sakin off the board, and Aran now just clears out the wave on this Paquito, jumps back in onto 4 members, though. This is a risky move. Stampede bringing it back.
Oh,
Aran on the back. My goodness. Forcing Super Key out, and just like that, they've gotten some more space to play with.
Oh man, like this guy's super rookie indeed, because Aran so far has been one of the key members for Aura Fire in this team fights, zoning everything down and also giving some space to Aura Fire's backliner to do damage. And this might be the game plan that they're looking for. Just for Van, just try to peel for the backline, let Aran cook on his own.
Well, Aran right there also save his spells for when he gets pulled back by the Stampede and then unloads all his damage onto Key. So that was a very wise decision. But right now, it seems like there's a bit of an issue for Bigatron. You can see that without Super Saiyan, they don't have enough damage at this point in the game to take down all the beefier members like Aran, like Van in the front line. So that could be a weakness, that could be a target for Aura Fire to try and at least zone Super Saiyan away and then win the fights that way, unless Bigatron Alpha are the ones forcing it on them right now.
Let's see, they're going to go in once again, trying to force that heavy spin from Van. Vin, though, is holding on to that wild charge, doesn't want to use it a bit too early into the fight. Good snipes on Super Saiyan, look at the back as well. Aran doing a good job at flanking for the airstrike coming down, and this might just be it. Oh, good heavy spin, and Kabuki is the one who finds it. Now Bigatron Alpha on the back foot, another beautiful Astral Sphere onto Super Key, forcing him back, and guess what? Aura Fire are back, equalizing the gold lead completely.
A lot of hesitation coming in from Bigatron Alpha. They don't know what they're trying to focus on because Aran is in the backline. The threat is there for Super Saiyan as well. Even in the front, you have High, you have Sin with the Feather Airstrike. It's going to be really hard for Super Saiyan to make anything happen at all. He has to rely on Super Fin, which already uses his concealed play and doesn't really have anything to work with. Super Saiyan so far only 1-1-1, not much impact so far in this game.
Super Saiyan pressured to be more of a damage dealer right now. He's forced to move forward and take a lot of poke damage, and Bigatron Alpha cannot do that. They need Super Chorizo to stay in the front and be that main tank soaking up all the poke damage. With the Lord, Aura Fire has one more extra front line. They can look to try and just flank around, get the poke damage onto Key and Super Saiyan before the fight even begins.
Oh, this is where it gets scary for the Terminators. Chorizo pops in that Consecration. Top side as a wild charge, baiting out the heavy spin, but Van is able to bring Super Vin back just a bit. Astral Echo revealing them! Oh my goodness! The shutdown Kabuki flickers forward, forcing Super Vin out and forcing a Cole Alter. One member down, no Super Ken to play with. Oh my god, that damage! And a snipe from Kabuki! Now, they're looking for the siege. Super Chorizo trying to hold them down, but Aura Fire might be able to take this game with another siege into the mid lane. So much range to deal with, and Bigatron Alpha, they are crumbling.
Godly kites from Van, godly kites from Kabuki as well. And they're trying to siege down there. Further SI forcing a flicker away from Super Key. Super sorry, slow!
Still able to escape for a bit. A good wild charge delaying the inevitable. But with 3 waves coming down. Super Key's the only one who can defend. It's still 0 seconds now. Super Ken finally respawning back in. Retribution on the wave. Super Ken holding the game in his hands. Now up against Van, who's just staying in the front line, giving space to the back line. Another runner apathy on the Super Key. Saken finally respawning back. And Bigatron Alpha, they can let go of that gas. My goodness, the relief for Bigatron Alpha.
Off the back of a single Lord, 6,000 gold earned, 6,000 EXP earned as well. Bigatron Alpha lost every single turret in one fell swoop. Aura Fire, this is the siege comp that they have crafted, and without any chaos, at the back line, towards Kabuki, towards Sin, they can just win it out like this again and again. Bigatron Alpha right now, they're the ones who have a question posed towards them. What can they do when Super Saiyan is just under too much danger? Let's look at the instant replay by the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip in that defense. Super Vin going in for the wild charge, and fortunately for Bigatron, the AoE damage coming in from Super Key is enough to just clear out the waves, but they lost a lot of members and they're forced to just sacrifice their death timers again and again to ensure that the game doesn't end right then and there. And Aura Fire, before Bigatron Alpha can even recover from the situation, they are going for a free, uncontested Lord yet again.
Seems like the solution is, as you said, Arashi, there has to be some creativity in Vince's engage. Has to be concealed from the back, a flank from the back, because they're trying to go a proper frontal back. That's what's gonna happen to Super Ken. As Immortality is gonna be pop off, that is a huge resource, especially if you're facing a lot of punishes in Van.
Oh, Bigatron Alpha had the 3 tanks to sustain, but it's only useful in the mid-game. When they get to the later stage, this is what happens. They're gonna collide, they're gonna collapse, but they're gonna poke the Supers down, slowly but surely. Vin holding on to that Lord, not letting it crash into the turret right now. The airstrike gets popped in with a heavy spin as well. Saken brought back to the team with a cold ultra used up now to save him. Super Saken still kiting away, using his fire. A wild charge on a Kabuki gets him down. And Aura Fire are forced back, but Bigatron are still looking for the chase now with a Stampede and Flicker from Super Key. He wants to get that kill on Van. He's still able to dash away for a bit though. Now the Red Trees coming in, Sin's taken low, Flicker's out. Super Key still looking for that one last shot that will take the Panda down, and there it is, the mega kill for Key.
Looks like the glaring weakness for Aura Fire's composition is very evident in that team fight, because they have no proper engage tools outside of Fan. If he uses the heavy spin to engage, he doesn't have anything to work with to get away from the crossbow tank, or even try to get away from any kind of death whatsoever. And that leaves the backline wide open for Vin and Chorizo to get deep into the back line.
Aura Fire right now, they cannot just go for the usual strategy of engaging with the Lord and going for a team fight. They have poke damage, they have burst. We've seen that even Super Ken, even a Fredrin falls victim to this long-range burst damage. I think Aura Fire could very easily do the same thing and use the Lord as a bit more of a secondary front line. But when they go in for a fight like that, that just puts more advantage in the park for Bigatron Alpha. And with that huge fight right here, Bigatron Alpha now have more control around the map, but they still have no turrets. So it's still going to be a very tough situation. It all comes down to, again, the bush control, the pick-up strategy. And when it comes to that situation, I think Aura Fire doesn't really win out in the composition department.
Map pressure-wise, though, Bigatron Alpha are losing on all fronts. They still have Uranus to clear out that bottom lane. But that's about it, right? If it's not the Uranus clearing it out, then they're going to have to send core members from their team fight comp to clear out these waves.
Look at the items right here for Kabuki. He has the Malefic Roar, but at this point, even though he's a Beatrix, even though he's doing a lot of damage, with the blade armor being built for both the Grok and the Uranus, they're just really tanky around, and with Aura Fire doesn't really protect Kabuki in this fight. Might be a bit too difficult for Saken though. Vin is around, so he will be relatively safe. But back to my point, Aura Fire, they have to try and protect Kabuki, because in that fight, Super Chorizo was just all up in his face, doing damage, outlasting his damage as well. So I think it's a bit of a balance for Aura Fire. They need to be aggressive, but also defensive at the same time. For Bigatron Alpha, it's a lot more straightforward. Just going for a huge fight, and now seeing that Aran is in front of their base actually, they're going for the Lord. And I don't know if they want to go for the 50-50 though.
Let's see if they do. Arizo's gone to a point where, whoa, he flickered. He flickered for nothing. A big mistake already, a blunder, and I don't think did Aura Fire notice it. Meanwhile, though, you gotta take a look at Iran. This guy from the MDL rookie, already playing in the MPL with no jitters, no sign of nervousness. He's able to bait in the marksman all the way into the base. Look at the space that he's got enough, and Sorizo loses his immortality into the Menace Rage. There's still a Cold Altar to save his life, though, able to escape for a bit. The Astral Sphere connects. Meanwhile, Aran, he's still able to escape for a bit longer. He finally gets his immortality pop, but no! They leave it away! And now, Big Dragon lost everything! Aran! Holy moly, what a play from the new Dragon!
Who let this guy cook? Oh my goodness, and he's still alive with immortality intact. This is the almost full tank build for Pakiro is 4. No damage whatsoever. You get the tankiness, you have the disengage, you also have the dashes to get away. And they're trying to siege the base here.
No way. They might actually look for the end right now. It's an Evolved Lord in the 22nd minute, and Aran again is just menacing in the back. Super Key just playing in the back. Vin still acting as the front line, aiding up the whole Bennett's Rage. Now though, the Lord has been cleared out, and Biggie Alpha can breathe out a breath of relief once again. Immortality bought from Super Ken. It's off cooldown. Another wave coming down, but it's gonna come in one by one. First in the mid lane, Van locked up. Maybe forced to use this heavy spin, but he holds off from it. He's gonna be taken quite low to half HP. A good render apathy now as an Astral Echo gets thrown out to the midst as well. No Astral Field to connect right now, but the Airstrike is able to connect on the Super Ken, who still is able to keep his immortality intact. Meanwhile, Sorizo holding them back once again. Wow. Bigatron with another good defense.
Oh my goodness, I think we're on a deadlock here for Aura Fire as well, because again, no proper engage tool, and you're forced to poke. And when you have a solid frontliner in BTR that can heal up in no time, like what's that gonna do? You have to rely on the micro plays from your backlines and hope they'll get somehow they'll get Sucken or Super Key out of the picture.
The closer you are to your base, the more you can sustain. So for the Brigadron Alpha, that is exactly what they're using to delay this game right now. Unless all the poke damage, the pickoffs, just land on Super Saken or Super Key, that's a lot of wave clear. I think at this point, Super Key becomes the more valuable player because he is the one with the AoE damage that can clear all these waves pushing at the same time towards the base of Brigadron Alpha. Even if Super Saken was alive, it's going to take a bit longer for him to do so. And look at that. They understand the importance. They try and go for the snipes onto Super Key. Brigadron Alpha needs to respect this and position accordingly. Make sure that the front line is always in the right situation to cover the backline more vulnerable members from all that danger. And for now, the macro situation, I think, just favors Aura Fire due to that Pakiro, man. Aran is just doing so well. And Super Sorizo on the notorious Uranus pick. There's just too much damage on Aura Fire. He might get picked up again!
What? Now you see him, now you don't! Aura Fire with a magic trick now as the Astral Echo reveals 3 members from Bigatron Alpha. Can they end now? There's no proper frontliner.
Well, there is still 2 in Vin and Ken, and I think that's enough. And Super Saken, I think if we were to go for like Hot's Claws, I kind of like the itemization if you actually go for it, because when you have a lot of poke damage and you have an item that can heal you up in no time, and I think that's gonna be really good for you. And Aura Fire, I think they have to be really patient in the next team fights and just try to not go for like all ins. Just try to poke. If it goes in, if it hits an opponent, that's good. Always do that again and again until someone is dead.
Aran.
Doesn't really matter if they failed over and over again.
Look at this man. Aran is buying so much space for Aura, and it becomes another Evolved Lord for free. Saint DeLucas is impressed. He coached Diablo, now he's coaching Aran. A new star in the making as he makes a statement in his debut up against Bigatron Alpha.
But now the same question is being posed for Aura Fire. How are they going to crack open this defense? This called Altar. They got to do something surprising, or they got to land that perfect combo, a Render's Apathy, a Astral Sphere, as well as a Feathered Airstrike. They have all the tools available. They just have to wait for the right moment where Super Key needs to move forward for the called Altar to clear the waves, and they have to time everything at the same time. With the Lord coming in, if they manage the wave properly as well, this could be the end for Bigatron Alpha, but at this level, at the MPL, you just don't know. Pikachu Alpha, they could very easily make something happen right here.
Look at that angle on the Astral Echo. Glad you pointed it out, Sheffin. Now Spheres coming down. Aran still holding off from going in here. As Pikachu Alpha still have the grasp onto the Lord. No opening yet, but look at the Bennett's Way. Slowly but surely, they crack the robot's defense down with the Call Alter already taken out. Now Kabuki flickers forward, going with the base, and Aura Fire has done it. It's taken game number 1 against the Red Robots, the Red Terminators, against all odds.
Oh, name me a better debut than Aaron did in this game. I could only think of Sans with that 4 legendary games in his MPL debut, but Aaron is looking like the next up for Aura Fire.
Wow.
Only 1 game, and I'm properly convinced at least